I'm interviewing Patricia Champluvier, my mother, and she was born April 5th, 1968. Okay, so can you remember Ronald Reagan as a president?
Yeah, I remember Ronald Reagan as a president, and I got laughing because I remember him as an actor, doing a lot of westerns. And then someone says, "Oh my God, an actor as the president." And I said, "Well, some presidents just do a lot of acting anyways." But I wasn't big into politics. So.
Okay, how about the Challenger spaceship, the one that exploded?
The one that had the teacher on it. It was a big effect because, you know, you got your people that went up in the ships and you didn't know them personally, but you knew somebody knew this woman personally, a whole class of kids. And it was on TV, it was live, and it was just very, very shocking. And I think I was in junior high when that happened.
How about the first camcorder that was ever released?
Oh my God, you know the cameras that these news reporters carry around, that's as big as the camcorders were.
Really?
They were huge and heavy, could put your arm to sleep. Then they got smaller. Now they're down to the size, then they got to the size of your hand. Now you got them in your cameras. You can find cameras and glasses and pens now. It's pretty amazing.
How about the entertainment during your age? What was the first game you ever played, like video game?
Video game. Pong. It was two paddles and a ball going across the screen, and if you guys looked at it, you'd say, "Oh my God, this is boring." It really was, if you think about it.
How about when they came out with Pac-Man?
Oh God.
Was that a huge upgrade from Pong?
Oh, huge upgrade from Pong. It was a game, and it exploded. And Pac-Man, the music, I can still hear it in my head. And when you got killed by the monster, and then they came out with Miss Pac-Man too, so that was pretty cool.
How about computers?
The first thing I saw computers, I was probably 7th, 8th grade in junior high, and I remember programming putting all the squiggles and stuff just to play Pong on the computer. By the time you got them in your home, they were like which was a word processor, which was a glorified typewriter. And I remember when I got my first real computer, which was not that long ago, about 2002, and I went online. I was scared about going online. It really freaked me out, but now it's like old hat now.
How about music?
Music. Music was a big thing when I was growing up. We listened to the radio. I grew up with brothers with bands. We had like Black Sabbath, AC/DC, Motley Crue.
How did they affect people? Did people like them, or?
Yeah, because they talked more about things that happened in our lives. It wasn't about guns, sex.
Like nowadays?
Like nowadays, the music I can't understand. It was more about love, caring, taking care of your family and stuff like that. It was.
How about when they first started airing music videos on TV?
It was different because we grew up listening to music. It was on the radio. It was not on TV. You never saw a video on TV. If you did, it was just somebody standing in front of a camera playing a guitar or playing their instruments, and now it's just a whole storyline. It's like watching a mini movie.
Really? Okay, how about how they started out with records and then they went to everything else and now having iPods and...
Well, when I was young, we started off with records and 45s, which were a small record, and you played them on a record player. I know you're going...
Was it like small, like a little cassette player?
It was no bigger than about 45, you know, with 45 inches diameter, and then they went to 8-track. I remember my brother getting all...
What was an 8-track?
It was a square case which had music, and you could put them into a machine, and it was in your car. Oh. It was a big thing, and then they went to tape decks, which were a big thing, and the boom box. If you don't know what that means, it's
a radio.
A radio that played tapes, and then eventually Walkmans came out.
I remember walking in school when I was
It was cool because kids walking around with a boombox on your shoulder, your arm got tired, so go into a Walkman, but only one person could hear it. And then they went to your CDs now, and now you got iPods and stuff like that. Cell phones. Never had a cell phone when I was a kid. It was not even heard of. It was, no one carried a phone at all.
Do you remember when they first came out?
I don't remember when they first came out. I remember when I was a kid, the way my mom kept a hold of us kids was CBs. My brothers all had CBs in their car, and she'd get a hold of them that way. We didn't have cell phones, which are now convenient, but also a pain in the butt at times because you can't get away from the phone. But
yeah. How about, let's talk about the ice storms of 93 and 97 that happened in...
Well, 93 happened December 13th, 1993. The reason I remember it very well was that was the day you were born. Of course, in the middle of the ice storm, it knocked power off for the whole surrounding towns. No one could move, crippling. I had to talk your father into driving down to pick up my mom because she was without power, and I was not going to leave her without power. We did have power, and if we did lose power, we had backup heat. I had stored up on food, but it was beautiful, but it was also deadly. The towns and the areas just
Was
stopped.
it just horrible?
Everything stopped. Stores were closed because we couldn't do nothing. And it took them a while to just get the power back on. It took almost a whole week for the power to come back on.
How about in 97?
In 97, that was December 31st, going into January 97. I remember that date, too, because that was the year your sister was born. Another big ice storm, which basically did the same thing. It shut the surrounding towns down, and stores were closed. It basically crippled us.
Okay, let's talk about 9/11, when the World Trade Centers were attacked.
I hadn't heard anything. I had gotten up and I was doing housework, and I had to go to the store, and my radio came on and said that it was attacked, and I'm going, which World Trade Center? Which World Trade Center? Your Uncle Raymond, my brother-in-law, works at the Trade Center in Chicago. And the first thing that popped into my mind was, is he alright? Oh my God, my sister. And when I found out it wasn't that one, it was one in New York, I come home, I watched it on the TV, and then eventually I called your grandmother. She hadn't heard about it. And it was just devastating because...
How did people react?
Well, the thing is we always told we were safe. No one would harm us, and it caught us all off guard. But the thing is during that crisis, to see all the heroes that came forth and helped those people that they didn't even know.
I was 11 when that happened, I remember that. How about when you were in junior high, there was... At Nokomis High School, there was a few students that refused to go to school. Would you?
I have it in scrapbook paper. It happened October 21st, 1992. There were some students that were in foster care. They refused to turn to school, and when the principal and the administration tried to get them to come back to school or get them homeschooled, because according to the law, they have to be educated. They refused. They slandered the school. They tried to say the students at the school were threatening them with knives. Kids were swearing, showing disrespect to the students. And the thing is, the news article that came out in Bangor really made Nokomis High School not look very good in the eye.
How did this affect the students of the school?
Your aunt was her graduating year. I think your father and your Aunt Laura. They were very upset because they didn't see this or what was happening. So
the students were making false accusations.
Yes, and the newspaper did not come back and ask other students. They asked the students that made the accusations, but they didn't ask other students, and we didn't think that was fair. The students went down and they protested. They took picket signs and marched in front of the Bangor Daily News because we didn't think it was right. They didn't talk to the principal of the high school at the time. They didn't talk to other students except for the ones making the accusations. But the only thing it ended up doing was making Nokomis more bonded as a student body. It showed we had school spirit, and we defended not just our principal, but our school. It showed the neighboring towns that these students can come together. It's not just a school, it's a community. They were family. And don't come barking up our tree unless you want to be bitten back.
All right. Thank you.